Perinatal stroke. There are two different categories of strokes. Ischemic, which characterizes 80% of strokes, which is associated with blockage, and hemorrhagic, which characterizes 20% of strokes, is associated with breakage. A perinatal stroke refers to strokes that occur at or before birth, occurring between 22 weeks of pregnancy and 1 month after birth. The most common types of perinatal strokes are neonatal and presumed perinatal ischemic stroke. The overall risk of a perinatal stroke is less than 1%. The most focused period of risk for ischemic stroke in your lifetime is the week you're born. Recurrence risk of stroke in children with a perinatal stroke is extremely low. It is possible to have long-term challenges in virtually any area of the brain function after a perinatal stroke. Symptoms usually present at birth or within the first 8 months. Commonly associated symptoms include seizures, extreme sleepiness, a tendency to use only one side of their body, hemiparesis. Perinatal arterial ischemic stroke is the most common known cause of cerebral palsy in full-term or near-term infants. Perinatal strokes are 17 times more common than pediatric strokes, which take place beyond the newborn period. Now we're going to have our friend Sam tell you what it's like to live with a perinatal stroke. Hi, my name is Sam. In my first week of life, I struggled to latch and suck while feeding because of weakness in the right side of my face. My mom started to bottle feed, which eased some of the difficulties I experienced while feeding. When I was 6 months old, my mom began to notice that I was only using the left side of my body. I used my left hand to swipe at toys and kept my right hand in a fist by my side. My mom was beginning to notice that I only held my bottle with my left hand, never crossed midline with my toys, and only rarely cooed and babbled. My dad began to notice that when I wanted to be held, I only reached for him with my left hand. He thought I might be a lefty, but as we know now, most children don't show a clear preference for one hand or another until 2 or 3. Throughout the rest of my first year, my parents were noticing delays in some of my important milestones, including rolling over, sitting, pulling to stand, and crawling. I was unable to explore my environment because of this weakness, which affected my spatial awareness. When I was 8 months old, my grandma was babysitting, and she noticed a rhythmic twitching on my face and arm, along with pauses in my breathing. She rushed me to the emergency room, and I was immediately given an MRI and CAT scan. My MRI results showed that I was having seizures resulting from an ischemic stroke during birth. With the help of early intervention and physical therapy, I'm learning to walk and explore my environment. With the help of early intervention and occupational therapy, I am in constraint-induced movement therapy so that I will better engage and strengthen the right side of my body. I currently take anticonvulsants to manage my seizures, and my therapist and neurologist have assured my parents that my brain is very plastic and I have great rehab potential. Hey there, it's me again. I'm 10 years old now, and here's a little bit of what's going on since we last chatted when I was 1 year old. When I was 2, I favored my left side and neglected the other. I struggled independently feeding myself because I was unable to hold my plate and bowl with one hand and feed myself using a utensil with the opposite hand. I ended up pushing my bowl over when attempting to spoon feed, causing a huge mess. As I grew up and eventually started school, I experienced numbness and tingling along with weakness, making it difficult for me to grasp things like eating utensils and pencils. I couldn't hold my spoon long enough to get food to my mouth, and pens and pencils were too small in diameter for me to hold for a functional amount of time. Thankfully, I was still receiving therapy services, so I gained a ton of strength and got to use adaptive equipment that helped me grasp my eating and writing utensils. For the past 9 years, I've struggled with motor planning and processing. Sometimes I bump into things, but I've learned to be more aware of my environment. I always know what I want to say, but sometimes I can't form the sentences to express my feelings. My mom tells me I have decreased working memory, which makes it hard for me to remember letters, numbers, and colors. This makes it difficult for me to read and understand what's going on at school. Mom also says I have decreased attention, making it difficult to pay attention during class and keep up. I struggle following directions because I get distracted pretty easily. My hemiparesis creates difficulty when I try to walk. While one leg works, the other drags across the floor or sometimes won't move at all. Not to mention, I fall a lot trying to walk and bruise easily. Sometimes this stops me from playing on the playground or in the yard with my friends. I struggle to keep up with them and get tired pretty easily. I love softball and want to try out for a team one day. I'm not sure I can hold a bat or make my arm move fast enough to catch a ball, but my OT says we'll work on it in therapy. I've gone to the same school my whole life, so I have a ton of friends who know that I do things just a little differently. In our music class at school, we're learning how to play the recorder. While everyone's moving on to more difficult songs, I struggle to hold my instrument up long enough to get more than 5 notes in. The constant blowing into the recorder makes me feel weak and like I'm going to faint. I've switched to the piano now, which lets me better use my abilities. I haven't had a seizure in 5 years, and my anticonvulsants seem to be working. Overall, I'm engaging in typical activities of a 10-year-old kid. Now, we're going to look into the future of what it might be like for me growing up with a perinatal stroke. When I'm a teenager, I will be continuing therapy to help me improve my daily life skills and be as independent as I can be. At home, I will want to start helping my mom with chores in the kitchen because I love to bake, but I won't be able to lift the heavy pots and pans with 2 hands because of my weakness. I will continue therapy so I can build up that strength to do so. But my mom might allow me to wash the dishes in the sink so that I can still participate in kitchen activities. I will enjoy spending time with my 2 younger brothers, but my youngest brother will be a baby, and I might tire from my weakness trying to carry him around. I may have a hard time at school. I'm very bright, but I will most likely take a little bit of extra time to study because it's hard for me to focus for long periods of times. I might also take longer to write out my notes in class because of my difficulties with motor planning. In high school, I'll be able to walk to my classroom and I can take the elevator to the library, but my right foot will drag because of my right hemiparesis. When I go to college, I'll use a motorized wheelchair to get across campus because I get tired walking long distances. In college, I hope that disability services will help me get across campus as needed and allow me to take a little bit extra time on my exams in classrooms that provide me a smaller, less distracting environment than the big lecture halls. These adaptations will enhance my college experience so that I can participate in the normal college life. Because of my right side hemiparesis, I will most likely be unable to use typical driving equipment. I will hopefully receive an OT driving eval, and I can learn to drive using a spinner wheel and hand controls. This will allow me to independently meet up with my friends, go on dates, and start to work. Some people in school might look at me differently because of how I walk, but because I have attended the same school since kindergarten, most of my classmates are really great and supportive friends who love me all the same. I will be able to grow up like any other teenage girl who loves to shop, have makeup parties, and have sleepovers with my friends and talk about our crushes. When I reach early and middle adulthood, I hope to get married and find someone to spend the rest of my life with. I hope to be able to have children of my own, but I'm worried about the possibility of this. I hope to be able to live independently and have my own house, which will probably be a 1-story house because stairs are challenging for me. I will be able to dress myself and cook for myself independently. I will have built up the strength to be able to lift pots and pans and do the dishes independently. This will allow me to explore my love for food and cooking. I hope that my deficits won't affect my ability to work and wish to work in the medical field. I loved my OT growing up, and she has helped me have a more full life. I'm considering this as a potential career path. I hope to become efficient in driving with my hand controls due to the deficits that right side hemiparesis still affects. With the help of PT and OT, I will be able to walk, but expect that my right leg will still drag. When traveling long distances, I anticipate still having to use my motorized wheelchair. I still enjoy softball and hope to be able to participate in the church league in my community. Hopefully, by the time I reach older adulthood, with the help of OT, PT, and SLP, I will have overcome many of the deficits from my perinatal stroke. I may experience some problems with executive functioning, like planning and remembering to take my medications. My seizures are still managed with medication, so it's very important that I remember to take it. I hope that I will have the opportunity to have grandchildren because I know it will be so fun to play with them. I may struggle with picking them up due to my right side hemiparesis. I also may have to rely on other people to drive me around since my entire right side is still weakened. I will have adaptive equipment for driving, but it may be harder to use this as I get older. I also may have a walker to support myself for safety purposes so I don't fall. I still will have my motorized wheelchair for long distances, and I may use it more frequently since I will be older. There are many activities for older adults that I could get involved with to help with my strength and endurance, like silver sneakers, water aerobics, swimming, dancing, and walking. With determination, family support, and an amazing therapy team, I expect to live a purposeful and meaningful life.